What did Freud say about female desire? Why do men refuse to listen to this truth? And why was he nearly assassinated for revealing it? Keep watching and you will find out. Have you ever wondered why no one talks about desire in relationships anymore? It seems that we've lost the ability to talk freely about our desires with our partners, and even with ourselves. We are afraid of admitting our desires because they might be shameful or unacceptable. But if we don't know what we truly want, how can we expect our partners to fulfill our needs? How does a man satisfy a woman? Well, by fulfilling her desires, of course, but what are they? Women keep quiet, but their bodies always betray them. As a professional who has been working with women for over 20 years, I can tell you that there is a big difference between what women say they want and what they really want. They usually say that they want a strong and confident man. When they start fantasizing, you will see that their ideal man is actually quite different. A strong and confident man is nothing more than an illusion that they have created to protect themselves. In reality, they want someone who is able to make them feel safe and secure. If you think I'm making things up, let me tell you a story that happened to me not long ago. One of my patients told me that she was looking for a strong and confident man. She said that she needed someone who could take care of her and protect her. When I asked her why, she said that she had been through a lot of pain in her past relationships. She had been with men who were weak and insecure. She said that she didn't want to waste her time with someone like that again. We talked about her fantasies, and I could tell that she wanted someone who was gentle and caring. She didn't want someone who was dominant and aggressive. She wanted someone who would listen to her and respect her feelings. But she couldn't admit that to herself because she thought it was wrong or shameful. She thought that she should want a strong and confident man because that's what society tells us women to want. But her body betrayed her. Her fantasies revealed the truth. She was trying to convince herself that she wanted a certain kind of man because she thought it was the right thing to do. But deep down, she knew that she wanted something else. She was afraid to admit it because she thought she would be judged or ridiculed. She thought that she shouldn't have these kinds of fantasies because they were wrong or sinful. But she couldn't control them. They kept coming back. She was confused and frustrated because she didn't understand why she had these fantasies. She didn't know that these fantasies were normal and healthy. She thought she was the only one who had them. She felt alone and ashamed. But when she found out that many other women had the same fantasies, she felt relieved and empowered. She realized that she wasn't alone and that she didn't have to hide in the shadows anymore. One day, while browsing online, she came across an article that talked about the dark secret that Freud uncovered about female sexuality. The article explained that Freud discovered that most women's biggest fantasy is to be taken by force, and that this fantasy is so powerful that it can make them orgasm. The patient read the article, and she felt shocked and amazed. She couldn't believe that other women had the same fantasy as her. She thought that she was the only one. She felt less alone and more understood. She realized that she wasn't wrong or sinful for having this fantasy. She realized that this was a part of her, and she accepted it. But let's go back to the beginning. What did Freud actually say about female desire? Why was he nearly assassinated for it? And why don't men want to hear the truth? In 1932, Freud published an essay called Female Sexuality. In this essay, he shared his observations about female sexuality and desire. He claimed that women's sexual desires are stronger than men's, and that they often manifest in unconscious ways. He also claimed that women's sexuality is more complex than men's, and that they have multiple sources of erotic stimulation. He said that women don't just want to be taken by force, but they also want to be taken by someone who represents a higher status than them. He said that women are attracted to men who are more successful, more intelligent, or more powerful than them because they see them as protectors. They want to be protected by someone who is stronger than them. This is why women often fall in love with men who are older, more experienced, or more accomplished than them. He also said that women's desire is not limited to the genital area, but it can also be stimulated by other parts of the body, such as the breasts, the neck, or the mouth. This is why women often enjoy massages, kisses, or other forms of touch that stimulate these erogenous zones. He also said that women's desire is not always rational or logical. It can be influenced by unconscious factors such as childhood experiences, fantasies, and symbolic associations. This is why women may be attracted to men who remind them of their fathers, their brothers, or other significant figures from their past. And finally, he said that women's desire is not static or fixed. It can change and evolve over time. can be affected by hormonal changes, psychological factors, and social influences. This is why women's sexual needs and preferences can vary depending on their age, their health, and their circumstances. So what is the big deal about Freud's claims? Why were they so controversial and shocking? Why were they silenced and suppressed? Well, Freud's claims challenged the Victorian morality and the double standards of his time. In the Victorian era, women were expected to be pure and innocent. They were not allowed to express their sexuality or their desire. They were seen as objects of male desire rather than subjects with their own agency and pleasure. Freud's claims were also shocking because they contradicted the prevailing theories of his time. Most experts believed that women's sexuality was inferior to men's. They thought that women did not have the same needs and desires as men. They thought that women's orgasms were rare and difficult to achieve. They thought that women were not as pleasure-seeking or as erotic as men. However, Freud was not the only one who dared to speak the truth. There were other scientists who also made groundbreaking discoveries about female sexuality. One of them was Wilhelm Stekel, declared that female orgasm was essential for women's health and happiness. Another one was Richard von Krafft-Ebing, who studied women's sexual response and described the clitoris as the main source of female pleasure. Despite their contributions, their findings were ignored, dismissed, or ridiculed by the mainstream experts. They faced censorship, persecution, and even violence, because they went against the norms and values of their society. For example, in 1929, a German physician named Ernst Grafenberg presented his research on the G-spot to the International Congress of Urologists. The G-spot is an area in the vagina that, when stimulated, can cause a woman to orgasm. Grafenberg discovered this by accident while treating a woman for a urinary problem. He found that when he pressed on a specific spot inside her vagina, she experienced a sensation that she described as pleasurable and orgasmic. He then repeated this experiment on other women, and he confirmed that the G-spot was a real phenomenon. However, when he presented his findings to the Congress, he was met with laughter and disbelief. The other experts thought that the G-spot was a hoax, and that Grafenberg was wasting everyone's time. They did not want to believe that women could have such a sensitive area, or that they could derive so much pleasure from it. They thought that this discovery would challenge the traditional view of women as passive and submissive sex objects. After that, Grafenberg stopped publishing his research, and he died in 1960 without getting any recognition for his discovery. Another example is that in 1940, a group of sex researchers led by John Money published a study on female ejaculation. They found that some women could ejaculate fluid from their clitorises during sexual arousal or orgasm. They also found that this fluid was similar to male semen in composition and function. However, this study was also met with skepticism and opposition from the medical community. The other experts did not want to believe that women could have a male-like response, or that they could produce a substance that resembled semen. They thought that this discovery would blur the lines between men and women and undermine the traditional gender roles and expectations. So because of the lack of scientific evidence and the social taboos surrounding female sexuality, the mainstream experts ignored, dismissed, or ridiculed these findings. They did not want to challenge the status quo or risk their reputations and careers by supporting controversial ideas. They preferred to stick with the prevailing theories and practices that supported the patriarchal and oppressive system that benefited men at the expense of women. They kept women in the dark about their own sexuality and desire. They prevented women from exploring their own bodies and pleasures. They forced women to conform to the narrow and restrictive standards of femininity and modesty. This is why today we still have so many women who are confused, frustrated, and ashamed of their own desires. This is why today we still have so many men who are clueless, helpless, and ineffective in satisfying their women. This is why today we still have so many relationships that are unfulfilling, unsatisfying, and loveless. We need to bring back the art of desire, the courage to explore our own bodies and pleasures, the honesty to express our needs and wants, and the curiosity to learn about our partners and their needs. We need to stop silencing the truth and start embracing the mystery. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it with your friends and family. You can also subscribe to my channel and follow me on social media for more content like this. Have a wonderful day and see you soon.